Welcome back to the WE3Live Season 2. What state is influencing the nation's mobility future most? It's my pleasure to introduce the California electric mobility thought leader, Arlen Orchard, today, joined by Deepak Garg of Smart Energy Water. They're going to be diving into the California Mobility Center and how it's driving the nation's EV future. The California Mobility Center, which Arlen chairs, is the hub for California's mobility innovation with top corporate and private partners. They play an integral role in forging a just and economically prosperous transition to the electric mobility economy. And without further ado, I'll hand it off to Deepak and Arlen.
Thank you, Laurel. I'm very excited. Know Arlen for quite a good time when he was CEO of Smud. Such a dynamic person, always looking into the future. Change brought big transformation in Smud. I was always excited to see that, and sharing a lot of thoughts together, learning a lot from him, what he's trying to do and bring it in Smud. And then during the same time when he's talking to me about how much he's passionate about what's happening in the utilities around the e-mobility and how he want to take it to the next step, I was overexcited. And then I see that CMC and it's like, wow, it's like big high-speed thought transformation. So Arlen, I'm really, really excited to be part of this. And first of all, knowing you, seeing you, pretty much bringing all this transformation, and now and heading CMC. To really love to, Arlen wants to know just role, what you want to play. I know that all your experience in the utility, you want to bring it, such a great transformation, connecting everything around, from customers to the utilities to transportation, everything. This e-mobility is really, and California Mobility Center is a heart. I'm not being sarcastic about that. We are sitting in California, but I know that for sure the world is changing about e-mobility, but California is in the center of conversation for all the good reasons. To love to know about that, and then I'd love to kickstart our great ice-breaking session, and questions with you.
Okay, well, yeah. So I'll just I agree with you. I mean, you would say, why are you doing a mobility center in California? And I think the answer is probably pretty obvious to folks who know anything about it, for several reasons. The first is, all you have to do is look at all of the innovation in this space that's being done, whether it's in LA or Silicon Valley, and the billions and billions of dollars that are invested in California into new mobility companies. So that's, first is where we're kind of the heart of innovation in this area right now. The second is, and you can't underestimate the importance of it, is just the regulatory support in California. The regulators are really driving the transformation of clean transportation technologies by their rulemaking. And that's true whether it's EVs, passenger EVs, to everything, including off-road EV uses, which by off-road, I mean things like construction equipment, ag equipment, those types of things. So, and then just quite frankly, if you look at sales, California dominates the passenger car market when it comes to EVs. So those three reasons are really clear why California has been out in the lead for so long. But I'm really hopeful that we're not going to be an anomaly in the very near future. And I think that the change in administrations in Washington and the support that the Biden administration it has signaled for the clean transportation is really exciting. I think, nationwide, those new efforts, financial support, probably some regulatory requirements, are really going to drive adoption across the country. And I know there was a major announcement by the president today on EVs geared towards really accelerating EV deployment between now and 2030. So I think that hard signal from the administration is really exciting and really going to move things a lot faster than maybe we thought a couple of years ago. And it seems like they're going to put their money where their mouth is. So it's more than just, mom and apple pie stuff. So I'm really excited about it.
Well, I can't add more than what you already overemphasized. That definitely it's a regulator, it's a government, federal or central, or state, and the industry is gearing up, because one side we're talking about the people wants to be, for sure, they are more climate focused, they're more green focused than ever. Definitely thanks to all the connectivity, and definitely I feel the COVID made all of us more connected to the digital world to see what's going on. And I think the people in the center of everything, they are the people are buying EV because they want to be, not just because the EV is more good, but it's more good for the broader world, broader society, for all of us. Government, I think globally, I can't put more words into this. The e-mobility become the core center of conversations for the transformations and changing and all. And what you are doing as a California Mobility Center, I just love that the concept to the reality, what you're able to frame it up, bringing private parties, to the government, to the regulator, to the innovators together. This is a huge responsibility you took, and your team took it. And as a chairman of California Mobility Center, I feel that I'm going to be more and more learning from you, as the time goes. And then definitely today's session, people want to know more about you. But let's go for personal first. I think people want to know a little bit more personal about you, and this we call it a speed round, ice breaking round, whatever sort it is. But really, I know you personally, but I want to know. I want people know about you. Did the energy find you, or you find the energy? Because everything is around energy online.
Gosh, I wish I could say that as 5 years old kid, I was like, I want to work in the utilities space, but I have to say I'm one of those people that energy found me. It was, when I was in law school and graduate school, I never contemplated working in this industry, and I stumbled into it. I actually thought I would stay a few years and move on. And, I spent more than 30 years of my career. So it definitely found me. I don't know too many little boys and girls who sit there and go, gosh, I want to work in the energy space. But once you get into it, it's so interesting and it's so complex, and it impacts people's lives in a really super big way that I had no idea of. So, nobody wants to think that energy is sexy, but it actually kind of is. So.
I can't agree more than that. I want to just add that this is the only industry which touch everybody's life.
Yep.
Only 7.9 billion people. Everybody is the consumer of this particular vertical. The next one, what kind of the advice you want to give it to somebody young, new person, or anybody working in other industry, specific to as the things are going around energy space, mobility, and all?
I think one of the things that I was told by a mentor early on that I've really embraced, and actually in my office when I was still the CEO of Smud, I had a little thing printed and stuck to my computer just so I would remember it when I was having a hard day. And the two things were never be afraid to tackle the hard problems and be bold. And I would say if you do that, you're going to make mistakes. You're going to take more risk than you would if you're cautious, but the rewards are so big by using that philosophy.
Love that. I think everybody, I will take it that one too, and I'm going to put that in my office too. This is a beautiful one. What's something? The next one is, what's something you believe what other people thought is crazy?
Oh wow. I guess I'll focus it on the CMC since that's today's topic, and not some crazy food thing that I have going on in my head. But I would just say that with regard to the CMC, I think if you look back 10 years from now, you're going to find more than one unicorn that's come out of the CMC. So that's my prediction. And some folks may think it's crazy at this point, but I think that's going to happen.
I'm 100% agree with that, I think more and more, we need more innovation, we need more commitment, and we truly need more focused people in the mobility for sure, and irrespective of, we talk about net zero, we talk about the EV, we talk about e-mobility, irrespective of that, The cool, I think, Alan, I know that people now know you a little bit more personally. Love to get to more towards our real session driving the nation EV future through for your core focus on California Mobility Center. What do you think about the stage today influencing the nation mobility future the most?
I think I'd go back to California, my earlier intro comments, and just say it's California, but I'm hopeful that with the new administration, we're going to be closing that gap, which is important, because if just California is doing it, we're not going to get to where we need, because it's not just national either. We need to help move the dial internationally. And that's actually what the CMC is focused on. We're really focused on not just the California ecosystem. We're focused on how do we translate that nationally and internationally to speed commercialization of these new products and solutions. Because one, it's exciting, but two, we've got to speed up the decarbonization of this planet, or we're going to be in big trouble, I think. And so setting aside all the innovation and all the new company stuff, that is of critical importance. So I think that's one of the reasons that drives my involvement in the CMC.
Well, I think, Colin, there is really, we don't want to be talking 10 years from now. It is too late. We cannot reverse that, because we played a lot with the nature for good or bad reason. I think we cannot change the past, but we can change the future. And I can't agree more than that. One single state, one single company can make this happen. And as one country cannot make it happen. This is a global initiative. Everybody has to be part of this, and I just feel that I can tell you is in the last 3-4 years, we in this industry been sitting as a part of that, we've seen a big move, and everybody trying, and I think this is the time to connect everybody. So my next topic will be, and question will be for you to share with the team, all the people who are listening, thousands of people over there, is you achieved a lot with the California Center since you found it. The California, it's very focused initiative. What is the original story about CMC? People want to know a very successful person like you, for a great utility CEO, moving to this, and what gap did you see in California mobility ecosystem? If you see that, I don't want to put you on a spot, but just love to know from you.
I think that's a great question. So I'll go back to why Smud was involved. We started envisioning it and started working towards it when I was still the CEO before my retirement. And really it came down to what I mentioned before. Smud was committed to dramatically reducing not only our carbon footprint, but really focusing on our entire region's carbon footprint. And so we wanted to decarbonize our portfolio and our operations, but we really wanted to make sure we were also decarbonizing our communities. So we were looking at both the built environment and transportation. And so we recognized that transportation was such a critical part of that, which meant we had to rethink how we thought about our customers and our relationship with our customers, because ultimately they have to embrace and adopt these new technologies to make it work. And we also had to reimagine how we viewed transportation. So, and it also meant that we as a utility couldn't do it all. And that we couldn't ignore that cross-sector interdependency of utilities, auto companies, auto suppliers, regulators, tech companies, and even academia. Everybody has a critical role to play in speeding up the rate of acceleration and really looking at how do you optimize that transformation so that we're not doing it in silos. And the other thing that we recognized is the clean transportation ecosystem is way more complicated than the traditional historical carbon-based one. So we needed to create a platform, an ecosystem with all these different where all these different players could come together, collaborate, discuss, share ideas, share viewpoints, which are very different. And so that was the first part of the CMC's vision, was to recognize the intersectionality of all of these different players and create that platform for engagement. So, and then the other driver, and this probably goes to kind of where the big disconnect is. The first disconnect is silos between all of these critical players. And the other driver is that recognizing that established incumbent companies, big ones, really do speak a different language. And this is no surprise to you, I'm sure, my friend, than startups. And that disconnect of language and expectation really impedes progress and success for startups. So the CMC is structured so that we can help create a bridge among incumbents and startups. We'll essentially provide that translation services that bogs people down, delays it, harms relationships. So that's kind of the two things we're trying to accomplish in our as why we started this. And we're new. I mean, I'm just going to say we're new. We're still learning. We're iterating. We opened our doors in the middle of COVID, March of this year. So it's provided some unique challenges, but also, forced us to think out of the box in a way we may not have under normal conditions. So that's kind of the long-winded answer to that. But the other thing I'm going to note is thank you, because you're now a member. You and SEW are now a member of the CMC. So thank you for seeing the value and supporting the effort. So we're now excited to have you in the fold and helping us think through all these tough issues.
No, I can't put more words into that. Your vision and the team vision for California Mobility Center, I always believed in. You remember 2 years back, we were having lunch and when you shared with me, and then we had the actually kickoff dinner on that. It's like really because this is what I think we excite all of us. Taking, and you just said that. It's a complex, it's a multi-dimension, multiple variable right into it. When it's complex, multi-variable, that's what we love to solve, because we are not going to wait for somebody else to solve for us, because either we see the problem, we go behind it. And this is where I just feel that this pretty much the California Mobility Center will really invoke and solve a lot of those ongoing conversations, problems, solutions. Doesn't matter is it technology, doesn't matter is it industry related, doesn't matter, regulatory bodies have to connect the dots to what to do, what is being done in the most upcoming states versus already adopted states. So I'm looking forward for that, in this journey together with you, and the team. Okay. And the next one will be for good reasons. What do you see, and how you pretty much from your standpoint, the speed of commercialization of all this concept, and any success story you want to share with us, as an audience, people love to know.
Yeah, first, as I mentioned, we just opened the doors in March of this year. So like any startup, we don't have a big track record to rely on. Yeah. So we've got some initial clients we're working through. We're continually checking in to figure out how could we do it better and then iterate improvements. But let me say that, with our early clients, which are startups, we're really working very closely with them to understand where they are in their journey, understand what their needs are. And then, and this is important, based on that information, we're curating a suite of services and solutions through our network of service providers and our industry members to help meet those startups where they are in their journey and help move them more quickly to success. So those services can range from everything from product prototyping to business plan review, connecting them with industry members for demonstration projects, helping them through the complex California regulatory process, which is very complicated, to even things like helping identify grant opportunities and connections with venture capital, which is, of course, funding is always an issue for startups. So those are the types of things we're doing with them at this, folks. So let me use as an example one of our first clients, which is Zeus. And Zeus is a really exciting company out of Minnesota, as they say when we talk, that has developed a really cost-effective and very flexible platform for EV work trucks. So think utility vehicles, garbage trucks, those kinds of fleets. So as I said, we worked with Zeus to identify their needs. And their first three early needs were they needed an initial deployment partner for their EV work to, try out their product in a fleet. The second thing is, in order to start initiating sales of those products, they had to successfully navigate the regulatory and air quality requirements of the California Air Resources Board and the local air quality management districts. And then third, like most startups, they needed funding support. So those were their three crucial needs that we identified. So what did we do? We found them in Smud a deployment partner. And now Smud the CMC and Smud are working to identify additional deployment partners, which at the end of the day, those will hopefully form into purchase orders for additional vehicles that will be then incorporated normally as part of their fleet. Through one of our service providers, we're navigating the air quality and vehicle compliance requirements of California to help speed that process along for them. So we've got experts helping them. They don't have to identify those experts. They don't have to learn it on their own. We can speed that process. Our Intertech, which is our VC partner, has been doing mentoring with them to better prepare them to seek additional funding. We're working with them to develop kind of a buying pool on common utility vehicle specs in order for them to be ready for broader sales and applications. And then we're opening some joint development opportunities with some of our industry partners for them. So those are examples of how we can bring together a package that meets their needs. And instead of them having to figure it out, we help them figure it out and then put resources there to help them do that. And our service providers don't do it for free, so they do have to pay for it, which is reasonable. But the time I think they save and the avoidance of making mistakes on that journey is money for them. And speed and money are what it's all about every day. So that would be that'd be my example of.
No,
I think we're making some progress in getting it right.
No, that's really a great and not only example, and you outlined that's the problem for a lot of I should say startup and the companies trying to make be successful in this area. They will not get all these things straightforward easily. The support California Mobility Center is providing in that context is huge, because Alan is look like very easy, but it's very difficult to get the first client, to work with the regulators to get everything set up, And to your point, should we truly tell, that a lot of people talk about the money is easy, the funding is easy. The point is the funding is getting from the right people with the strategic moves, it's a very important, and there's, that, I know that, as a part of all our journeys in past, it's a very important thing. I just feel that with that, you're not only acting as an incubator about as a organization for all these companies, but I just love that, one of the section when I gone more deeper about that, you're developing this whole mobility workforce economy around that. And you have such a great workforce development program. I think people love to know about that. What you're developing around that.
Sure. Thanks for asking about that, actually, because that's something that's near and dear to my heart, workforce development in this new ecosystem. And I think it's really important for two reasons. First is kind of the big societal reason is that it's a social justice issue. And I know I've spoken to folks at Z Prime, and I've spoken at conferences about how kind of the green revolution has largely left people in disadvantaged communities behind. They haven't realized the benefits around rooftop solar or electric vehicles. And in fact, they haven't had access or opportunities for the jobs that these new industries are presenting. So that's a real problem when you think about the challenges that our nation is facing. So that is really one of the drivers why we got involved. And we want to make sure that as we're revolutionizing the transportation sector, that we're ensuring that disadvantaged communities and people of color are receive the training necessary to land these high-paying jobs in this new exciting sector that's really going to transform our society. And then the second reason that we're focused on workforce development is that, quite frankly, startups told us it's a hell of a challenge to acquire talent, and they spend a lot of time trying to do that. And that's true at every level, everything from technical skills for advanced manufacturing to computer scientists to engineers to PhDs. So if that's one of the big challenges, then the CMC can help create a bridge to fill that gap for them. And again, it's about speed. If as a startup, I don't have to go to a university and navigate the complexity of a university to find interns and maybe a PhD to help me, then again, I can focus on the business part, which is where I should be spending all of my time. And so the challenges really runs that full gambit of talent. And so through our partners, we're really focused on filling that gap for startups. So two of our founding partners are Sacramento State University and the University of California, Davis. So they're helping with placing interns with these companies at both kind of the bachelor's and advanced degree state, as well as providing access to their professors. And then Sacramento State has been just a phenomenal partner, and they're actually looking at how can they retool some of their engineering, computer science, and business programs to be focused on the startup ecosystem in the transportation space. So that's really exciting. And then even our local community college system, Los Rios, is a great partner, and they've been working to develop technical training programs. So we're trying to look at the whole thing to help folks. And on the workforce development training front, we've been very focused on job readiness and technical training in the advanced manufacturing space as kind of our first formal foray into this. And we've been completely focused on sourcing the students from disadvantaged communities. So we've been fortunate enough to receive $2 million in grants from the city of Sacramento and the state of California on this effort. And we have partnered with nonprofit training groups who are embedded in the disadvantaged communities, because that's not our expertise. So we want to go to the experts and partner with them. That's a big part of the CMC's philosophy, is grow the ecosystem and pull in people with expertise that you don't, to increase the collaboration and better outcomes. So, we've been doing this since kind of the first of the year, and we've had some good successes on getting into those disadvantaged communities. We've engaged about 900 folks in this effort. We've got about 500 of them that are in one part of the program or another. We've got about 120 people employed out of this so far. We've done more than 50 paid internships. So, it's an early effort, but we're seeing some quick success, and we're making a difference already, which is exciting. And, it looks like we're going to get another tranche of money if the U.S. Senate approves the House appropriations. I don't know what we call it, whatever, but $2 million for new equipment for our ramp-up facility and training. So we're on a roll. It's early, but I'm really excited, and I think it plays a critical role in democratizing the clean transportation revolution.
Well, I think, Alan, I can't more agree on this, because the workforce development is very important, and it has to truly proactively work on it, because you can't prepare for industry to be completely transformed to the new state and you don't have the workforce available to get supported out there. I love this initiative. That's why I put you on the spot to talk about that, because it's very important people to know. how much great work already been done and already been planned to be doing, for good reasons. Now I will go to the last, because I know that we on the last question, I know we are really coming out of the running out of the time, but just quickly, and I think this will be definitely will be a good one for people to know, because as a CMC, if I go back on your being a kind of a platform and unique stakeholder for automobile companies, to utilities, to regulators, to startup, bringing down, actually you're breaking these silos and bringing everybody in and say, guys, let's work together. Let's really, this is a transformation cannot be done by one industry. You need to stitch everybody together. They have to think together like that, irrespective of where they are. How has this relationship between the different stakeholders, is being changed, and why they're interested to look into this whole CMC, concept? And I said more than a concept, is a platform, because it's already been successful. It's already running towards a great success, and it's going to be repeated every state globally, just that would be the good highlight for the people to know.
Yeah, I'll just say, because we're in our infancy, I wish I had some, I don't have any, earth-shattering accomplishments that I can tout at this point. But I think what's exciting is if you look at the interest that the CMC has generated, that it's clear that people recognize that the old way of doing business around silos just isn't going to work in this new ecosystem. And clearly, if you stay in your silo, you're not going to be able to optimize solutions, and you're going to have disconnects and infighting between these key stakeholders. So, I think that there's a clear recognition, and I think that that is kind of reflective right off the bat at who we've been able to attract to our board of directors. We've got kind of the founders, which are SMUD and the two universities and the local economic development organization. So those are the founders. But just, this year we've been able to, since we've started, we've been able to attract senior executives from Toyota, Lear, which is a major auto supplier, Microsoft, and a couple of venture capital representatives onto our board, because they recognize the two things that we've talked about a lot, is this interdependency, this intersectionality that we have to foster if we're going to do this successfully. If we don't do it successfully, commercialization will drag. And then, and one of the things we've done to help facilitate is we've started up a cross-sectional industry advisory group to help advise the CMC and the board on direction and focus, and as well as work with our startups. So our startups are getting input from multiple industry players, which I think will help them refine their products earlier on. And so it's, this is leading to some really interesting conversations and some insights. I know what excites me is the level of understanding. When I first started talking about this, I had the opportunity to talk to a couple of major automakers and a couple of major auto suppliers about this concept. And the first question that came out of their mouth is, I don't even understand why a utility would be interested in this. After all, you're just going to sell the electricity. And what they didn't realize is, depending on how this rolls out and the infrastructure requirements, yes, we have new sales, but potentially we're going to have to spend billions and billions of dollars to upgrade infrastructure to meet the new demand. And if you can, through innovation, minimize our investments, you're going to impact consumers less from a financial standpoint, and you're going to be able to make the sale of those products that automakers are interested in much more palatable for consumers. And ultimately, that's the day. So, we've gone from us having the conversation of, why do you give a rip about this? And are you just crazy for even caring about it? To, okay, I get it now. We've got to make sure that as we roll out and think about infrastructure and how we jointly approach customers around some of these challenges, that there's a role for all of us to play in that. And that also obviously influences the regulatory environment that has to happen. So that's part of it. And then I think the other thing that's kind of interesting is this much deeper understanding that's developing about the disconnect between startups and incumbents. And, the Boston Consulting Group has done some really interesting research around that disconnect. And, some of the research says that for the relationships between incumbents and startups, that level of satisfaction is less than 50%. Sure. And that for corporates, that 90% of them see little impact or value from having worked with startups. So that's because those expectations are so very different. I had a CEO friend of mine who was very frustrated with everything, said, look, big companies think about endless pilots and startups think about purchase orders. And those things aren't even remotely the same thing. Sure. And so that is kind of that I'll leave that with the reason that we're there. We want to translate those expectations to a common platform, a common understanding that ultimately result in faster commercialization and purchase orders for startups. So.
Oh, no, I think that's really, I can't overemphasize on the same topic. You already made that, but I can tell you, I think in last 3-4 years, this is what my own personal experience, and I think all of our experiences, it's all about the people, and the people are changing their behavior. They're more connected, and dependency on the power energy sector is going to be only going to increase and increase and increase. And with this variability of EV, irrespective of it's coming to commercialization in residential or actually industry, the power companies, the utilities and regulators are worried about how they're going to meet that demand, which is right there in front of us, and how that industry can be successful irrespective of the goals we set it up for all the good reasons, the CO2 emissions reductions and all. If we cannot even have the power available to charge the vehicle, if you don't make the customer intelligent about that. So, and I think our focus being, I cannot tell you, like if you ask me the same question 6 years back, what does a mobility means to the world and the tech company like us? I can tell you, I think it was a 10% focus, 20% focus on that to look what's going on. Right now is a 10,000% focus on that, because we know that it's impacting, it's impacting every day, every second. And for us to be making the customer more intelligent by having the anonymous data and lot of movement is happening more faster than we all expected. I'm looking forward for this, working with you closely and the team, So thank you, Arlene, we definitely, 8 minutes ahead, but I think this 8 extra minutes, a lot of people got a lot of intelligence from you. Laurel, I think that it's to you. Thank you Arlene, for your time, and looking forward, for more sessions with you.
Thank you.